I was preparing an invoice report when an automated travel notification appeared in my inbox. The subject line read, "Updated guest information, Grand Seaside Resort, Lisbon." I clicked it and saw her name listed under Primary Traveler, followed by a second entry, Ethan Clark. The booking summary displayed, "Double Suite, Ocean View." Before watching the video, please tell us in the comments, which country are you watching from? The itinerary included 2 tickets under the same confirmation code. The attached boarding passes showed adjacent seat numbers. She had told me her company only sent 1 representative per client region, so a dual ticket immediately stood out. The email originated from her corporate travel platform, not a personal booking site, which meant it was official. I opened the PDF attachment and examined the billing details. The corporate cost center field was blank. Instead, it showed personal payment, direct settlement. That single phrase changed the classification from business expense to private booking. I opened her previous itinerary from the same system. The earlier trips always contained a company reference ID line and a manager approval signature. This one didn't. It was paid through a personal credit card ending in the same digits as hers. The timestamp indicated the transaction occurred late at night, about 24 hours after she told me she'd submitted her flight request for corporate approval. I exported the document, renamed it Lisbon Trip Record, and filed it under a new folder called Independent Verification. When she called the next morning, she said, "Flight's confirmed. I'll send you the schedule." I replied, "Already saw the update." She paused briefly before saying, "Oh, they must have copied you by mistake." The tone didn't change, but her words created a data inconsistency. Corporate travel notifications never include spouse contacts. Only the employee's email address receives them. If I received it, that meant she had once forwarded a template from her work address, and the system automatically stored mine as a backup. Automation had revealed what discretion hid. After ending the call, I examined the trip overview again. The hotel booking specified honeymoon package upgrade, inclusive of breakfast and spa. The confirmation number included a subcode labeled Romance Stay. It wasn't subtle. Every field confirmed dual occupancy. 2 breakfasts, 1 suite, 1 arrival transfer for 2 passengers. No room for interpretation. I opened her shared calendar on the cloud workspace we used at home. She had entered Lisbon, Client Summit. The event description contained a copied paragraph from a past itinerary, including identical formatting errors. The real summit listed online used different dates. I saved screenshots of both pages and compared timestamps. Her entry had been manually typed, not imported from her employer's scheduling tool. Before closing the file, I opened the attached map coordinates embedded in the hotel confirmation email. The metadata led to the coastal district of Cascais, 30 kilometers from the actual conference location. I verified the coordinates using Google Maps satellite view. The listed property was a 5-star resort known for couples retreats, not business conventions. The photo gallery on the booking page displayed beachside dining setups and private balcony views. It was all verifiable, down to the room layout visible on the hotel's website. I compiled everything into a single folder: confirmation email, itinerary, room package, map link, and call summary. Each file was named according to date and source. The evidence already told a complete story without needing interpretation. All I had to do next was watch how the data aligned with her narrative once the trip began. That evening, she texted, "Boarding now. Long flight ahead." I looked again at the document on my screen. 2 boarding passes, 1 payment, 1 suite. Facts don't speculate. They just wait to be connected. When her plane landed, she texted a short message. Checked in. Long day ahead. I compared that message time to the hotel check-in record from the reservation portal. The property log showed guest arrival, 2 occupants confirmed. The timestamp matched within 1 minute. There was no ambiguity. Her text referred to the same moment the hotel system verified joint check-in. Facts rarely align by coincidence. I accessed her travel folder in our shared cloud drive. She had uploaded an expense spreadsheet labeled Trip Receipts. Inside were 3 hotel invoices, not one. The first showed a single-night booking in the city center, likely staged for her employer. The next 2 listed the resort location, with a rate adjustment for double occupancy. Room service entries appeared under 2 meal counts per night. I exported every sheet and placed them in my verification folder. The next anomaly came from her photo feed. Our phones synced automatically through a shared album she once insisted on using. I opened it and saw new uploads titled View from Balcony. The metadata displayed location tags linking directly to the Cascais resort coordinates. One photo reflected 2 wine glasses beside a dinner tray. I took a screenshot of the EXIF data showing time, device, and coordinates. Then I compared it to the conference schedule her company had posted publicly. Her supposed keynote session occurred simultaneously with that photo timestamp. No overlap existed between her calendar entry and the actual event. The following day, I checked her corporate expense portal using her saved login from our shared browser. The last reimbursement claim she'd submitted listed Airport Transport, Client Meeting. The document image attached to it was a taxi receipt. The printed address matched the resort street name, not the conference venue. The receipt ID also showed a handwritten tip, something not typical for business trips where receipts are system-generated. That evening, she called briefly from her hotel. Her voice sounded calm. She said, "The sessions went late. Everyone's tired." I asked, "How's the view from the room?" She replied, "Standard city view." I looked again at the balcony photos. Ocean horizon, palm trees, and beachfront lighting. The difference was verifiable. Lying against data always creates a gap measurable by coordinates. To confirm hotel activity, I checked online reviews of the property. Several recent guests had posted images of identical dining setups to the ones visible in her photos. The table arrangement matched precisely. That meant her images weren't archived stock photos. They were authentic to that exact suite. I then examined her social media. She had stopped posting work-related updates and switched to private stories visible only to close friends. I created a secondary account and viewed the public section. A friend of hers had shared a tagged picture. 2 wine glasses clinking at sunset, captioned, "Well-deserved break." The reflection on the glass showed part of her bracelet, recognizable from previous photos. I captured that frame too. Each verification step added weight. The evidence wasn't emotional, it was sequential. Flight confirmations, receipts, photo metadata, and text timing all built the same timeline. Parallel truths converging on the same coordinates. There was no need for confrontation yet. Observation still served better than reaction. The pattern was complete enough to predict her next move. If she followed the same logic, she would submit expense reimbursements on return, converting personal costs to corporate claims. That would turn personal deceit into professional misconduct, opening a structured path for consequence. The next phase would require full investigation, fact by fact, file by file. I began with her itinerary metadata. Each file carried digital fingerprints, creation times, edit logs, and author names. The travel documents she had sent to me listed her corporate email as the creator. but the same PDFs saved to her laptop showed a different origin. Ethan Clark, PDF export. The name matched the second traveler from the hotel reservation. That meant he generated the booking, not her company's travel desk. I saved the metadata screenshots, labeling each according to source. Metadata doesn't argue. It simply identifies the origin. Next, I reviewed the boarding pass attachments. Airline systems embed seat identifiers and passenger codes that correspond to booking references. Both their passes share the same booking reference number, a unique code that only applies when two passengers are booked together under one reservation. I logged into the airline's public Manage My Trip portal and entered the confirmation number. The interface displayed both names automatically. It was visible proof that they traveled as one booking unit, not separately. I captured the full page as PDF evidence and filed it under Joint Travel Verification. The next step involved cross-checking payment data. I opened her email receipts for the trip. The hotel invoice was paid with a credit card ending in digits identical to the one we used for household purchases. The transaction appeared on our shared banking app, tagged Pending International. The merchant ID matched the Lisbon resort. I exported the transaction details and matched the timestamp to the hotel's check-in time. Both records aligned perfectly. She had financed a personal trip under the pretense of work, paid for it jointly, and disguised it through terminology. To confirm her absence from the corporate conference, I emailed the event organizer listed on the company website. I introduced myself as reviewing attendance logs for cross-department accuracy and asked for the participant list. The organizer responded within the hour with a spreadsheet of registered employees. Her name wasn't on it. Colin, the co-worker she claimed was attending with her, was listed instead. I saved the file, highlighted the relevant columns, and archived it. Facts eliminate the need for argument. Later, I examined her work calendar's audit trail through the shared server. The version history revealed that she had manually entered conference into the slot 3 days before departure. The real invite, issued by corporate travel, had never been accepted. Her company's system records every accepted meeting link, and none existed under her profile for that event. I printed the calendar version history page and stored it in my growing case file. The hotel's customer service desk offered additional proof without realizing it. I called their support line and requested confirmation of my recent booking email issue. The operator verified the reservation number and confirmed 2 guests under the same stay. I thanked her and ended the call. Their verification matched the documents. Audio recordings weren't needed. The system notes sufficed. By the end of the day, my documentation folder contained 15 files. PDFs, images, call notes, and system verifications. Each item supported another. The structure was no longer suspicion, it was architecture. Every log, receipt, and message aligned under a single, verifiable timeline. Her flight back was listed for Thursday. That left 3 days before she returned. I decided to wait until her reimbursement claim appeared in the company's finance portal. Once submitted, her private misconduct would intersect with corporate policy, turning personal betrayal into a compliance issue. Revenge didn't need confrontation, it only required proper classification. If this were you, would you act or wait? Her expense claim appeared the day after she landed. The file was labeled Lisbon Client Summit, Travel Reimbursement. It included invoices from the resort, renamed to appear like corporate hotels. The total exceeded the company's daily travel allowance. She attached scanned receipts showing business meal for 2 and client entertainment. The second diner's name line was blank, written over with a pen. I downloaded every file, saved them under Reimbursement Submission, and checked their properties. The document timestamps showed creation in her personal laptop, not the company-issued one. I added those details to the record. The report included a section for supporting photographs. One image caught my attention: a dinner table set for two, glasses raised in a toast. I magnified the reflection in the restaurant window. The man seated opposite her matched Ethan Clark's employee photo on the corporate directory. The logo on his lanyard was visible in reverse. I saved that frame and compared it to a LinkedIn headshot. The confirmation was undeniable. They had used corporate claim templates to disguise a private trip as a work function. I decided to test the reimbursement system myself. I uploaded a dummy expense labeled Lisbon Verification. Within minutes, the automated approval tool cross-referenced my entry against other claims filed during the same date range. Her submission appeared under the internal report, proving it was still pending review. The system's audit tools left a clear digital path. I exported that report too. The final piece came from her company's shared newsletter. A colleague posted photos from the actual Lisbon Client Summit, held at a conference hotel in the city center. In one image, I saw her department's table, everyone present except her. Her manager commented, "Great turnout this year." I downloaded the image and timestamp. That post became the external validation confirming her absence. No confrontation would ever be stronger than institutional evidence. The next morning, I compiled a summary document. It began with a hotel booking confirmation, followed by the payment record, flight itinerary, receipt metadata, and photo verification. The conclusion stated, "Personal trip conducted under professional pretense using corporate identity and resources." I formatted the file according to internal compliance style, citing relevant clauses from her company's travel policy. The objective wasn't emotion, it was precision. When she returned home that evening, she acted casual. She said, "The meetings went well, the team's happy." I answered, "Good." She unpacked while explaining the networking dinners. I noticed the same blue resort tote visible in the background of her photos, sitting near her luggage. I didn't ask questions. Confrontation adds noise. Documentation requires silence. Later, I saw her open her laptop and upload the same reimbursement packet to her company's finance portal. The progress bar reached 100%. That tag, single upload, transferred every verified piece of evidence from my folder into her employer's internal servers. She had submitted her own exposure. Revenge didn't need announcement. It was already embedded within her actions. The next day, I forwarded my compiled summary and attachments to her company's anonymous compliance mailbox, labeled Travel Discrepancy. No message, no signature, no emotion, just data. The system generated an acknowledgement receipt with a case ID. Once a case number exists, it becomes traceable by policy. That night, she received an email titled Expense Audit Review Notification. She read it silently, then said, "Strange, they're reviewing everyone's trips this quarter." I nodded. The systems had already begun their work, and there was nothing left for me to do but observe. The audit notification triggered the next stage automatically. Her company's internal process required all flagged reimbursements to undergo manual verification. That meant compliance officers would request receipts, review metadata, and match records against hotel and airline systems. I didn't need to interfere. The framework would build its own outcome. Still, precision demanded oversight. My goal was to ensure that every piece of data aligned so cleanly that interpretation became unnecessary. I began preparing what I called the mirror file, a duplicate of everything she had already submitted, organized chronologically and labeled with source authenticity. The first section contained the joint booking confirmation and boarding passes. Each entry had a timestamp and verification source, formatted identically to her corporate expense system layout. The second section included the hotel invoice, room service list, and resort address, highlighted where the descriptor changed from business to honeymoon package. The third section referenced her reimbursement claim, showing identical documents re-uploaded with false category names. Every file was clean, accurate, and traceable back to official systems. It wasn't opinion, it was alignment. I created a one-page cover note reading, "For audit validation support, compiled from publicly verifiable records." I avoided personal details or tone. Objectivity ensures credibility. Then I uploaded the file set to the same anonymous compliance Dropbox, using her case number from the acknowledgement email. The system automatically linked the submission to the existing investigation. Once attached, no one could edit or delete it. Internal governance rules required permanent retention for active audit files. The system had taken custody of her lie. To strengthen verification, I used the hotel's digital assistant chat feature under my reservation reference. The transcript confirmed. Double suite package booked under Ethan Clark, 2 guests, stay duration 6 nights. The bot timestamped the exchange and added a note to the booking ID. I downloaded the chat, log as a PDF, and added it to my mirror file. That document carried more weight than any accusation. Automated responses have no bias. They record facts exactly as input. The next step involved secondary exposure through indirect compliance triggers. I reviewed her company's procurement policy, noting that any repeated audit discrepancies automatically escalated to the CFO's office. I drafted a short, factual email from a disposable address. Multiple identical expense formats observed under current fiscal quarter. Potential template misuse. I attached no names, just examples referencing her submission style. That message ensured the case would receive priority scrutiny under pattern analysis, extending the review scope to her entire team. Revenge through process is cleaner than confrontation. At home, I stayed quiet. She spoke casually about returning to work and finalizing her expense reports. Her confidence confirmed she believed the review would pass unnoticed. I simply acknowledged her updates with short replies. Every sentence she spoke would soon contradict her own documentation. Systems move slowly, but precisely. They never forget. Before sleeping, I synchronized my entire verification folder to a cloud drive under a neutral name, encrypting it with a simple note. Audit Reference Archive. Backups ensure permanence, even when access changes. The chain of evidence now existed across 3 independent systems: her company's server, the compliance portal, and my private archive. Deletion could never restore innocence. By then, I didn't feel anticipation, only observation. The process was active, irreversible, and bound by corporate timelines. She had entered it voluntarily by submitting her claim. I had only supplied clarity. Her misconduct was now institutional knowledge waiting for resolution. Precision was no longer a strategy. It had become revenge in its purest form. 3 days later, her company's compliance department initiated formal interviews. I confirmed this through an automated message from their audit system, which listed her case as "in review, travel expense discrepancy." That phrase meant all related records were under cross-verification by financial and HR divisions. The process had officially entered the execution phase. I opened my mirror file and verified that every submitted document matched the latest version on the portal. Alignment between internal and external records prevents distortion. At noon, she called and said, They're reviewing everyone's expenses. Random audit, apparently. Her tone stayed level. I answered, "That happens sometimes." The system notification I received an hour later proved otherwise. It showed her name under Active Audit Interview High Priority. Compliance classifications are ranked from minor to severe, and high priority only applies to confirmed anomalies. I downloaded the status page as a final timestamp. Later that afternoon, I received another automated notice, this one from the corporate travel vendor. It stated, "Customer confirmation required for shared booking review." The attached form requested validation of the secondary traveler listed on her Lisbon reservation. I didn't respond. The system didn't require me to. That single audit check guaranteed her company would contact the hotel directly for verification. Once the property confirmed dual occupancy, policy dictated an immediate escalation to HR for code of conduct violation. The next day, her messages shortened. Busy day. Meetings running late. Might not be home on time. I replied with single words, "Okay, understood, sure." I wasn't waiting for confession. I was tracking progress. That evening, she arrived home later than usual. Her posture was tense. She said, "There's been some misunderstanding about receipts. They think something's off with the hotel invoice." I replied, "What did you tell them?" She answered, that it was a group rate. The logic collapsed easily. Her company's policy doesn't recognize group rates for single employee trips. I didn't correct her. The system already had. By midweek, compliance suspended her corporate credit card pending investigation. Her work phone received no new emails. She didn't say much after that. Silence indicates when denial meets verification. At the office, her name disappeared from internal communications lists. I verified this through the company's public directory. Her contact ID now showed inactive employee. That status appears only when access privileges are revoked. I took a screenshot for closure. The next development came through LinkedIn. Her coworker Ethan's profile changed to Career Break, Exploring Opportunities. The update timestamp coincided with the internal audit's conclusion period. Both cases were likely handled together, a standard compliance practice. She didn't mention him again. I checked the public version of her company's HR bulletin a few days later. It included a new entry titled Policy Reminder, Misrepresentation of Corporate Travel. The notice described disciplinary actions for falsified reimbursements and personal travel claims. The examples used identical terminology to her case documents. Once a policy memo references a specific scenario, internal rumor completes the rest. The company had formalized her downfall into written instruction. At home, her demeanor changed. She spoke less, packed slowly, and spent more time on calls she didn't explain. I said nothing. Observation remained my only role. The system had executed the outcome exactly as designed, clean, official, irreversible. She eventually said, "They let me go," said it's policy, not personal. I nodded once and replied, "Policies are written for reasons." That night, I deleted the compliance inbox login credentials. The case was complete. Revenge had been carried out without confrontation, emotion, or noise, just a sequence of procedures performing their duty. Would you call this revenge or justice? Please tell us in the comment section. The next morning, her desk at work was cleared. Company policy required security to oversee personal item collection. She texted, "They watched while I packed. It's humiliating." I replied, "That's standard procedure." There was no need for sympathy. The process had followed its natural course. By afternoon, her corporate accounts were disabled. The email auto-reply read, "This employee no longer works with the organization. The system had finalized what evidence began. Ethan's profile vanished from the company directory the same day. His removal notice used identical phrasing. Within hours, colleagues started connecting the two disappearances. Information spreads quickly inside structured environments, especially when documents match. I monitored internal updates from the company's website. A new post appeared under Policy and Conduct. The title read, Maintaining Ethical Integrity During Business Travel. The examples listed mirrored her expense logs word for word. Double occupancy, unauthorized charges, and falsified receipts. Her story had become a training reference. At home, she avoided conversation. Boxes began collecting near the hallway. She said she was moving to her sister's apartment until things calmed down. I didn't ask questions. When she carried the last suitcase out, she stopped at the door and said, "You could have talked to me." I answered, "The system already did." She left without replying. The sound of the closing door felt procedural, like the last action in a workflow. In the following week, her company's compliance team sent a generic notice to all employees, reminding them of audit cooperation policies. I received a copy through the public newsletter feed. The message included a section titled, Anonymous Reports Strengthen Accountability. That line validated the method I had chosen. The institution itself now endorsed what I'd done. Revenge had evolved into corporate culture reinforcement. Her severance was withheld pending audit recovery. Financial statements confirmed a reimbursement deduction equal to the flagged expense amount. I found the same transaction reversed on our joint bank statement. It listed chargeback, corporate expense correction. I downloaded it for record keeping. Every action created measurable proof of closure. Ethan's reputation deteriorated next. Industry recruiters removed his name from partnership shortlists. One firm publicly announced its decision to pause discussions with candidates involved in recent ethical reviews. The language was polite but decisive. In professional settings, silence often speaks louder than accusation. He deactivated his accounts and disappeared from visible platforms. Meanwhile, my own work profile strengthened. My manager forwarded a note from upper management thanking me for my attention to compliance documentation. I hadn't claimed credit, yet recognition arrived indirectly. Systems reward precision whether or not intention is declared. The circle had closed perfectly. Weeks later, she emailed once, subject line, Closure. The body read, I know what happened. You didn't say anything, but I know. I archived the message without replying. Explanation would have implied debate, and facts require none. The folder containing all case files remained sealed under encryption, labeled simply Lisbon and Audit. I had no intention of deleting it. Deletion removes accountability. Storage preserves truth. By the end of that month, everything connected to her existed only as record entries, terminated ID numbers, revoked access logs, and closed claims. The system, without emotion or bias, had completed its task. There was no triumph or regret, only completion. Months passed, and the event faded into digital memory. The folder labeled Lisbon Audit stayed stored on my external drive, untouched. It didn't need review. Its existence alone defined closure. At work, the compliance protocols strengthened further. Travel requests now required 2 management approvals, and all reimbursements passed through automated validation before payout. Her case had rewritten procedure. Precision had achieved more than confrontation ever could. Revenge had evolved into governance. My daily routine stabilized. I arrived, processed reports, and left on schedule. Colleagues spoke about policy updates and new audit systems, unaware I had initiated the model they followed. When people discussed the Lisbon case, they spoke about it as data, not as scandal. That detachment felt accurate. Systems don't remember names, only outcomes. Her story had become a line item in a compliance manual. Outside work, silence settled easily. She didn't return. I saw her name once on a freelance profile page with no photo, no company listed. The description read, Consultant, Independent Contractor. Her professional trail ended there. The world had reduced her actions to metadata, an entry in an old case file, time-stamped and archived. Revenge through systems erases faces. It leaves only documentation. Occasionally, the compliance department circulated audit success summaries. Each included the same phrase. Anonymous reporting maintains structural integrity. Every time I read it, I recognized the pattern. Institutions absorb lessons faster than individuals. The entire process had begun as betrayal, but ended as architecture. Rules built from failure, not emotion. That was the outcome I valued most. I reviewed my own processes once more. Passwords rotated quarterly, backups maintained redundancy, and every document carried version tracking. Personal life followed the same structure. Precision prevents chaos. When systems handle accountability, there's no need for argument. People can deny words, but not records. One evening, a former colleague invited me for coffee. During conversation, he mentioned her name casually. She was talented, just made the wrong choices, he said. I replied, records don't choose, actions do. He nodded, not realizing the weight of that statement. Most people chase explanations. I preferred verifications. They end faster and last longer. Back home, I looked at the external drive again. The light blinked steadily, waiting. I didn't open the folder. Truth doesn't expire. It just waits for relevance. Some documents remain untouched, not because they're forgotten, but because their purpose is complete. Revenge had no residue, only order. I wrote a single note in my planner that night. Never react faster than proof. That sentence summarized everything. Emotions blur, but evidence clarifies. Every lie contains its own timestamp, every deception its own trace. All I did was connect them. The next morning, I received a company-wide message. Policy update. Compliance Excellence Award. It included a paragraph about integrity and documentation. I closed the email and returned to work. The lesson had outgrown me. The system carried it forward. That was enough. As for her, I assumed she rebuilt somewhere quietly. Systems forget people once they exit the framework. That's their advantage. They preserve accuracy, not memory. I never checked again. Verification ends once truth is established. Before leaving that evening, I powered down my computer, turned off the lights, and looked once more at the empty screen. The reflection showed nothing hidden, just clarity. Facts had spoken, consequences had followed, and silence remained. What would you have done differently? Comment your opinion below. Thanks for watching. Like, share, and subscribe for more real stories.